Hey there, I met Abe Potter and his family, and they are running a 2000 Volkswagen Passat. Tell us a little bit about your car.
Well, it kind of starts with I've been a Volkswagen mechanic at the dealer since 1988.
Okay.
And so back in 1997, this kind of starts back in 1997 when this car was introduced by Volkswagen. I went to training on it.
Right.
And the first thing I thought, when they had a silver one just like this in the training center, I thought, that thing has really good aero.
Aerodynamics?
Yeah. So, you know, then years went by, and I came out to Bonneville in 2011 with a team from the UK,
okay.
Volkswagen, running a Skoda branded car.
That's just a Volkswagen under a different name, right?
Correct. And I came out with them. That was the first time I'd ever spent any time out here at Bonneville, even though we only lived 90 miles away.
Right.
And I got the bug, and so I immediately began plans to build this car. And in 2012, my brother and I made it to Speed Week and ran it for the first time, and managed to go 212 on the second day.
212 miles an hour.
Yeah, it wasn't enough for the record then. But,
really?
Yeah.
So what class are you in?
Right now we're in G is the engine class, and blown gas coupe.
Blown gas coupe. All right, and the blower? I mean, this is the blown part?
Yeah, that's a blown. I think turbo or
the turbo or blower is
they call
blown.
it blown. Yeah.
Okay, and
so this is this car originally came with a 1.8 turbo 5-valve per cylinder engine, but I wanted to increase the strength of it and increase the displacement of it, so I used a block from a GTI from around 2006 that has a bunch of changes they made that are better for this. So I adapted the cylinder head to that later block, and this is probably the 4th engine build I've done. And
okay.
We've blown them up and found what their limits are, and
you just go to work and scrounge up some more parts?
Not quite. I mean, some of the parts, like the blocks and cranks and stuff, are literally scrap, junkyard parts.
Right.
But, you know, most of the parts, like pistons, rods, they're all trick stuff. And we have a sponsor, Tectonics Tuning in Oregon, who deals in Volkswagen racing parts, and we get all the valve train and pistons and rings from them.
Okay. Close the hood and take the stickers off. It'll look like a daily driver.
That's the idea, yeah. Because I think it's, you know, I try to keep graphics minimal, just so it looks more stock.
Looks sharp.
Yeah. I think it's a pretty car, just the way it is.
And you're running, you said, an Audi transmission?
Yeah, we're running an Audi 6-speed transmission.
Why the Audi?
Well, this generation of Passat was the last generation that used an Audi chassis, an Audi layout. All the Volkswagens since 2005 have had transverse engines.
Oh, the Passat switched.
Passat is switched like an Audi. This is an Audi layout.
Right.
So
I was used to the Passats being like this.
Yes, and so it shares the same suspension as a bunch of years of Audi A4 and Audi A6. Suspension, front subframe design, the transmissions, and so on. So
your suspension is close to the stock?
It's mostly Audi parts, but it's all the stock configuration. Okay. We've got some trick coilover springs and shocks from Bilstein on it.
Okay.
Other than that, it's basically stock suspension.
And you have gone how fast this week?
This week, our fastest speed was 239 back on Sunday, but our best average is, for a record, was 235.493.
And you've got a record?
We have a record, yeah.
Let me ask you this, especially since you're a Volkswagen mechanic and you're a racer. Is there anything y'all do to the caster camber or toe in or anything for racing?
There is. Well, let's look at it as an overall picture.
Sure.
Suspension setup. My background, not only with being a Volkswagen mechanic, but was with sports car racing.
Okay.
And, Sports Car Club of America. I spent about 20 years building cars and working as crew for road racing teams. And you learn how to make a car turn in that sport. You need the car to turn. So there's a formula of spring rates and anti-roll bars and chassis stiffness and all these things to make a car turn. So I just took all that knowledge and turned it around and made this car so it can't turn.
So it goes straight, and that's
It's
what you want.
yeah,
It hugs the road really good in
goes
straight line.
straight. It does not want to turn at all. It's
So
very
you got a little
stable.
extra toe or something like that?
It's got well, reduced negative camber in the front and no toe, 0 toe front and rear.
Okay,
and-
you got a negative camber.
Yeah, well, they all have negative camber, but I reduced that to almost 0.
To almost 0.
Just for minimal scrub and for just top speed.
I used to do front end alignments 1985 at a Ford dealership for about.
Principles still apply.
It was basically on trucks, and I forgot a lot since then.
Sure.
You know, we're bending axles and all that.
Yeah, the concepts are the
Sure,
same.
but I was always wondered, you know, you do front end alignment, you go down the road, you sure as hell say, man, I don't want to be doing 80, you know, or 100 in this, but
Yeah.
obviously you're doing it, so there's got to be some tricks.
Yeah, you want to make it as stable as possible.
And doing that with your cambers is part of the trick.
That's
And,
part of
and
the
no
trick.
toe.
And no toe.
So it's going to do this number once it.
Well, it's got, I say no toe, it does have just a touch of end, and it has very stiff suspension components.
So it's not going to let them toe out under
So
pressure.
it's not going to, it doesn't have any slop in it where it's going to
And
change.
caster.
Yeah, and as much caster as will physically fit in these
So
houses.
that steering wheel would want to drop to center again.
Yes, yeah, you try to turn it and you drop it, it swings right
Okay,
back.
so lots of caster.
Yeah. Another thing is eliminating the power brake booster. So it just, that's why the master cylinder is so far back. So it doesn't have touchy brakes at all. It has good brakes. The driver, if it really leans on them, it'll slow down the car, but...
Kind of like my motorhome.
Yeah.
But you got rid of power brakes because it's just too damn touchy at
Too
200 miles
touchy,
an hour.
and just, you don't need the complexity
And
of
then
that,
brakes
so.
would get super hot, super quick, probably. doing
Correct.
that.
Although this car has, on more than one run, it has, the driver's been impatient and decided to not use the parachute because that takes time to pack.
All right.
And hauled this thing down from 200 a few times with the stock brakes, and they work. They'll work once.
Then they'll gas or something, right?
They'll get really hot.
Right.
But once they cool down, they work again.
When brakes get really hot, that brake pad against the rotor will actually create a gas to where now your pad is riding on a gas,
And that's called brake fade.
and then you have no brake fade, and that's why you got the runoff ramps for semis, and that's why semis aren't supposed to ride the brakes down the hill. They're supposed to brake
Correct.
to a certain level, let off, then brake again later on when they need to.
Brakes have to
So when
go.
you're riding your brake down the hill, you're asking for a disaster.
That's right.
And real quick on the caster, just so that my viewers know, caster, camber, and toe one used to be the big three to check for front alignment. I don't know if that's changed,
That's still the same.
but now that
Cars have gotten more high tech, and the suspensions are a lot more exotic, but the same physics. apply.
same physics, but you got your rear end these days to do.
Yeah.
Back in the '85, I think the Corvette was about the only thing I ever jacked with that had that.
Nothing had independent versus.
But your towing is your front of your wheels. They could go in a little bit so that when your car going down the road, they actually go back towards
Even out,
zero.
yep.
And then your camber is your top of your wheel pushing out, which
Or pushing in, yeah.
or pushing in, whether it's positive or negative. And most everything it pushes out on the top. Unless I forgot since 1985, and correct me if I'm wrong.
No, in the cars now, mostly you see negative camber for stability.
So it's negative back
So tipped in, but back then they used to
It
do
was
the
just down.
opposite,
So-
just because of the way chassis were back then.
So I'm totally old school on that. It's actually different.
Yeah.
And then the caster is the caster on the shopping cart. It's basically the way I was always told.
It's like just like
So
the wheels
with
on
that-
a shopping cart.
So your shopping cart wheels want to go back to center, and that's what that is.
yeah.
It's all very important. All right, thank you. What else we got here on here?
Let's see.
Guess we got a lot going, right?
Well, it's got
What's your gear ratio on your rear?
the rear end gear ratio. It's in the front, but it's a 3.75 to 1 final drive, and the sixth gear is a 0.657 gear ratio. So it's
Okay,
very deep overdrive.
Is it the point? No, I think I just put that in my. I got TDI with a
TDIs can run. They run
02J,
Yeah, they run really tall gears.
and I'm putting in a Volkswagen pickup. And since the pickups has smaller tires,
Yeah.
I put that gear in, so my RPMs will be lower going down the road. So you're basically running the same ratio, but since it's gas engine, it's spinning a lot more RPMs.
So at 8,000 RPM, this car at 239 miles an hour, it's turning 7,900 RPM in sixth.
What did this engine turn factory? It's 2.0 factory or 1.8.
About 6,800 RPM.
Okay. I'm a diesel guy, so I'm thinking 2,000 something, 3,000.
Yeah, Volkswagen TDIs rev all the way to 4,500, but this particular the 2-liter or the 1.8, the factory usually keeps them at about 6,500 RPM.
Okay.
Their limit, just for reliability. But we have a lot of, the valve train on this it's got very stiff springs and cams that are made for high RPM, and we've got very exotic connecting rods and a lot of heavy duty parts in the engine, so we can spin this one to 9,000 safely.
Wow. Okay. So you're still with Volkswagen?
Yeah, work for Strong Volkswagen in Salt Lake City.
Okay, very cool. I've been on my own fixing equipment for many years, and actually stopped in 09. So, and obviously you can tell with the front alignment, I'd be all screwed up. How come they ain't got positive camber?
You'd pick it right back up again. It's like riding a bike.
Well, thank you for showing me your Volkswagen.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you for watching my video. Please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. And remember, if you love life and learning new things, go aimless.com.